So what's the point of fitting all these lines if we don't do anything with them? And that's where this interpretation, interpolation and extrapolation come in. So let's do a quick rundown. Interpretation is all about what does it mean. Okay, so if you're asked to interpret something, you need to say it means this, and it's normally in real life, so, or in words. Okay, so that's relating what the actual equation means back to the question and back to what that is in real life. With interpolation, okay, that is all about inside our data set. And extrapolation is outside our data set. So what those two mean is that you use the equation you've got to work out either what something, so predict what is something inside our data set or outside our data set, and I'll do it. Okay, let's start with interpretation. What does it mean? So when you've got x and y equaling certain things, so in one example we've been using through chapter 3 is population and what was it, number of primary schools. Okay, so what does that actually mean? So if you've got the equation y equals 3x plus 4, and that was the equation, then you interpret the m and the c, so the gradient and the y-intercept. Okay, so what this means is for every, it's not a very good equation for this particular set of data if we were talking about this here, but what it actually means is every increase, I'll write it down, every increase of population by 1 increases the number of primary schools by 3. That's what the gradient means. For every increase of 1 of x, we're actually multiplying by 3, so we're going up by 3 for y. And the other thing you need to discuss is the y-intercept. So in this case, for a population of 0, and again, this doesn't make a great deal of sense, for a population of 0, there are 4 primary schools. Okay, so with interpolation we're talking about inside our data set. So if our data set ranged from 100 up to 200 in the x's, okay, and we were asked to predict using our equation for 150, what our equation predicts 150 to be, that's interpolation. Okay, so if our equation was y equals 3x plus 4 again, okay, and we had to calculate that for 150, and this was our regression line that came from the data set initially. So we have to predict using the equation for x equals 150. So y equals 3 times 150 plus 4. So y equals 454. Okay, so that's interpolation. Extrapolation, which means outside of our data set. And if we use the same example, so our data set was initially between 100 and 200 in the x, okay, our equation was y equals 3x plus 4, and we were asked to predict what would happen at 250 when x equals 250, then we would need to do the same thing as interpolation, so y equals 3 times 250 plus 4, which is 754, and discuss that result. So in both cases here, we need to discuss what these results mean. Okay, so for interpolation, you would say how close to the data it is. Okay, and for extrapolation, you'd sort of say, does it make sense? Would it be accurate? Alright, so they're the sort of things you need to talk about when you're doing extrapolation and interpolation and interpretation.